In some medieval tavern, people discuss. CEO of Novus World. The people do not believe that he will be able to take the first place this year. Server space. According to them, this old man probably never played, so that he has no chance. It turns out that the director is sitting a few meters away from them. His ears are already itching from what he heard, but subordinate asks him not to believe the rumors. Then, he noticed how realistic this game is. The girl explained that it was all thanks to the latest version. VR. In the new version, it has also become possible to smell and taste. But you should be careful with the pain, because you too feel. He gulped down all his kitchens and asked the bartender. Supplements, while she said that in life alcohol is all the same. Tastier. They got down to business anyway, and Secretary Zheng began. Explain the basics. In short, you need to raise the maximum level, become ranker and increase karma. She gave him a short guide on how to act, but it still seemed very difficult to him. Suddenly, the couple was interrupted by laughter from somewhere on the side. A bunch of obviously experienced hunters briskly died over death. Some person. The girl said it's too noisy in here, and they should go from here, but she was not allowed to finish. When she opened her eyes, the director was already standing and asking. Relationship with hunters. The hero began to give out a base according to the type that youth now completely without manners, and their parents do not educate them at all. He said that they were not in their house and had no right. So shout, besides them there are also people here. The knight completely fell out from such a turn. The guy. He wanted to die, otherwise why did he get to the bottom of them at all? But this did not frighten the main character. He continued his a story that made the knight think he was acting out. The behavior of a grandmother. This absurd picture was again interrupted by a voice from outside. Some assassin turned to the man and said that he failed. If he is so old, then let him go to chess or playing backgammon. The guy got angry and heard the word old man, and he continued. He said if he didn't leave now, he would die. They were ready to kill each other, but in conversation. The secretary, she asked forgiveness for her friend. The girl explained that the main character is just too old-fashioned and she hopes they will forgive him as a rookie. The dialogue continued and it began to attract attention. Ordinary people. Something was clearly planned. But the girl still managed to smooth the corners, and the assassin let them go. The big knight was in shock. He did not believe that he was true. Let them go. And it was not in vain. The assassin will not leave them so easily. Now he thinks how best to deal with them. A couple of heroes went outside, but the director did not let up. According to him, everything here is like in the real world, full of rude people. At some point, the girl got it. She asked. So that a man does not call himself the CEO in this game. According to her, everyone on the server is already discussing it. Statement, if the identity is revealed, then he will have many problems. And in the worst case, perhaps even the hunt for him will begin. Head. But the man does not care. The secretary herself said everything that you need to quickly raise the level, and then the guy is nobody. Can't touch. The guy opened the scroll and tried to figure out what he have to do. The girl kept him up to date, explaining the meaning of the word quest. I said that he needs to destroy this animal. Suddenly, right in front of them, the carcass of this monsters. The girl noticed that the corpse is fresh, which means someone ahead of them. And now the man again needs to explain that. Do. Then the girl was alerted by something, according to her wolf. Destroyed by far not a novice, and on this account, there was no bad premonition. The girl did not have time to finish, as suddenly she was cut in half. Lightning attack. An assassin came on the scene. He said that he was disappointed because I thought that the girl is not bad in battle, but she turned out to be empty. The guy barely remembered this person. It was that rude in, and the guy yelled at him what he wants from them. Assassin was surprised. The director obviously does not understand what he is. Situations. They would never forgive a man for that incident. While the dialogue continued, the girl's body finally dissolved. The destroyer continued, "It's in his head. How a man came up with the idea to get to them." But he interrupted the villain. "Whoever they were, it does not give them the right to destroy an ordinary, innocent person." His heroic spirit was immediately destroyed by the knight in red armor, with one blow to the stomach. The pain turned out to be really like in life. "It's still one more time," amused experienced adventurers. And then the assassin said that the guy had no chance of dying in PvP, because he is under the buff of beginners. The hero did not give up his position. He continued to reproach the attackers that they are wrong, and now they attack those who are weaker them. All these stories were absolutely uninteresting to the axe Red Knight. Tom was wondering how long the director would last. It turned out that it was enough for one hit. After that, he carried out another series of blows, and asked what the main character wants to say now. But he was still immortal. He was under a shield newcomer and therefore replied that he was only more convinced of their bad manners. This divided the knight even more, but the assassin said that now he wants to do everything himself. He took the director by the head and said that he did not care who this old man is. And then he put the tip of his braid to the remaining eye. Guy. Hellish pain pierced the entire body of the protagonist. Assassin replied that, probably, the man is now very angry, but such rules of the game. In principle, if he does not like something, then let him complain to the developers, and writes the name of the assassin in a line for complaints. Their entertainment was interrupted by a cloud that appeared on shoulder of the hunter, and said that they have a new message. It turned out that the head of the guild sent an assassin. He really didn't like it there, but there was nothing to do. After that, the guy grabbed his opponent by the leg, and she said she didn't let him go. Without thinking twice, the assassin worked out the hand of the main hero with his boot. And then he left, asking the knight to knock out all the fool, as it should be. He was only glad to hear it. He again took out a hammer and asked why he did not hold his tongue with his teeth. And then he said they had plenty of time, so they will have fun here. His jubilation stopped only when his face came a flurry of magical blows. The guy had nothing to do with it. He himself did not understand what was happening now. Some girl came to the rescue of the main character, and addressed the offender by name, saying that to mock beginners are not good. In fact, in her opinion, only complete garbage. She decided not to stop, and once again activated his magic skull in order to finally finish off the night. The company presents a new major update for Novice World. At the end of this event, the CEO came out company and had to answer all questions. The first of the crowd who dared to ask the man a question was Guy. He asked something about the meaning of their slogan. The phrase that they are positioned about what is not needed. Paying money to play their game was just marketing ploy. According to him, due to past updates, I began to play. It's simply impossible if you're not a major. The director was not then to answer. Then the guy asked if the man himself had never played in their project. Then the guy himself called his question stupid. General. The director is a millionaire and he will never understand what it's like. Resist VIP players. In the end, the guy called the man completely out of touch with the present world. The directors were very angry with all these words, and he said, players that they themselves are to blame for their problems, because they have just hands in the wrong place. He continued his fiery speech in front of all his assistants and crowds of people. And then he said that in a year, he will take the top one in the rankings without any donations. The action moved back to the game world. The knight in red armor was finally defeated. The main character asked who she was, and why it all helps him. In response, the girl who came to the rescue threw the guy a potion. Health recovery. After that, she said that they need to get out of here. According to her, she did not defeat the enemy, but only knocked him out. But after a few seconds, the knight woke up, and was clearly not welcome guests. The savior grabbed the guy by the hand, and they are what is you're in. Rushed from there. The guy could not comprehend what was happening, for him. Wonder why a girl just can't win. Enemy. To this she replied that, in fact, she was not stronger than him, the same newbie as the main character. To their pity, the knight was slowly catching up with them, and was already on strike distance. But the girl was not at a loss, although she cannot win opponent in direct combat, but she has a couple of tricks. She threw a vial of green liquid at her opponent. It turned out it was a trap. After a few seconds, the enemy was completely immobilized by the slime. The girl explained that this thing is quite rare used, although it has a very strong effect. The guy did not understand neither the meaning of the word slime, nor young generation in general. In a second, the enemy was able to free enough hand to swing at the girl. He dealt a crushing blow, and in a second from the spot, attacks already had a cloud of smoke. Luckily it was a ruse. The girl managed to dodge. And then she added that the more you move, being in this slime, the stronger the effect. After that, the girl opened a portal to their base, and said about the main character so that they proceed there. The knight did not let up. He said that he would remember the nickname the main character, and one day the hour of reckoning will come for him. But the guy just hit the enemy on the forehead, and said too. He nevertheless began to acquire manners, and stopped. Address him to you. Then he said that the next time they met, the knight will have problems. The heroes left, but the enemy remained in the guise of a cube. Slime hang in this clearing. After a moment, his partner came on horseback. Huge bat, and said that he was unhappy with how partner does his job. The knight began to make excuses. He told that he had come some girl and stuffed him into this slime cube. Assassin called his interlocutor Lom, and then said that they have a new job. The head of the guild ordered him to find a player named Shangxi. Over his head he offered a tidy sum. At the same time, in the city square, near the statue of death, the director's secretary appeared. She was very worried, especially because how long her was not, and where is the director now? His promises are no longer his only concern, because if he disgraced in the eyes of the public, then the girls too will get. It turned out that the main character and his new partner on the same square as just now. After a while they noticed each other, and the director recounted all the events that had taken place. The secretary thanked the savior, answered something that newbies should stick together. Then the guy asked who his savior works in real life and how much she earns. But the girl decided to keep this secret. According to her now, they're just in the game, aware of everything that happened. Girl with blue hair upset and asked for forgiveness from the director. The man replied that everything is in order. Now he himself aware of what is weak enough, and it is not. Then he said that the secretary could accompany him, because he found himself a companion. From what she heard, the girl already jumped. You don't understand what hero means. He began to talk about what happened events. He is to blame, because he got into a stupid argument. Yes, the girl was not about that. According to her, it's dangerous to trust people you don't know very well. After which he said that he had already decided everything, and this decision unconditionally, so the girl can take it as an order. The elf told the secretary not to worry, and this is her second account, because on the first one she has already reached maximum level. Then she said that it was already late enough, and she had to leave, but in the end she nevertheless noticed that she doesn't like the elf. According to her, the girl is clearly up to something, and she made special contact with the director. After the guy did what the girl asked, he wondered why she decided to accompany and help him. But she only repeated that new players should help each other in their journey. The guy, in principle, does not mind. He also likes what he has. Girl's present responsiveness, which is amazing for new generation. After a while, the elf also said that she late and also have to go. She said that she would be glad to see the hero tomorrow, because they Together we can level up. Out on the street, the girl began to burst into terrible laughter. And says it was too easy. She quickly realized that this guy from the booth was some rich firm. Because he treated the other girl as his own secretary, but now everything he has, she will soon receive. At the head office of Novice World, the assistant says that the VR device is ready to connect. The director was delighted to hear this. He said that now begin to understand why this game is so popular among children. The girl once again said that she still wants to help to his boss, but he was adamant. He said that he would figure everything out himself. That's the point. Tests. And he added that now literally, he can't fall asleep thinking about that impudent and can't wait to become strong enough to defeat him. Then he said he wanted to play for a couple of hours, and then going to go home. But the girls had to disobey the order, in the interests of the security of the director himself. In the game, as soon as the guy appeared, he immediately met your savior. The girl began to ask what they would do. Today, her priority is just raising the level. After that, the guy said that his secretary gave him instructions on how to quickly raise the level. Then, she literally ripped the paper out of the director's hands. Well, quickly disappointed, she thought it was some important documentation. After reading the instructions, the girl began to tell what it was. Rather slow way, there are many more. Optimal. When the guy asked me to tell her about them, she only smiled looking to follow her. After some time, she led the guy to their goal, from which he was surprised. Their goal was a stand with a set of beginners, according to the girl. There is everything you need to quickly raise the level up to the 20th. To all this, the guy replied that now he has no money, and the girl laughed and said that in order for them, there was a need to donate real money. And at that moment, according to the girl, her trap collapsed. She knows well that in this game you can't survive without donations, but VIP players are head and shoulders above people who don't pay. Because of the items you get, the game becomes faster and more fun, and after the first purchase, almost impossible to stop. The girl's plan is stupidly simple. The guy will buy expensive clothes, and in the end she will take everything. What was her surprise when the rich director? It turned out to be an interesting. According to him, wasting the game is a real means it is very stupid. She began to catch up with the guy, and explain that it was very great deal, only $10. But the guy was hard as a rock. He was stupid to hear. Wording, just $10. According to him that's all. Equally big money. The whole essence of his plan is to raise the level in alone, without any outside investment. Then he asked the name of the person who is considered the best on the server, and how to become one. The girl was completely bewildered when she heard such a phrase from such a player, and then laughed. She asked how he wants to become top 1 if he is completely missing skill. When she calmed down, she apologized and started everything. Explain. First, you need to raise the maximum level, in which donations help a lot. And after that, fight and earn karma points. In turn, the scale of karma depends on any actions on server, not only for the destruction of monsters. The guy guessed that you need to increase your level of karma to get leadership positions on the server. The girl praised him, and then said that I was in order to start doing it right now, just need buy a net for $10. The girl did not leave her attempts to knock out a man money, but it didn't work out. And after some time, the heroes were already in the forest. The guy was trying to figure out his director's guide. All they have to do is find out and destroy Horned Bear, which is an epic monster. But suddenly, their attention was attracted by noise from the side. Some kind of half-naked, muscular knight was beaten by a crowd. Small Gavrikas. The guy said that they needed to help the knight, but the girl replied that it was not their problem, and they needed get out. She didn't even have time to turn around, as her partner was no longer there nearby, and he rushed off to fight these useless pumping mobs. The hero quickly approached, drew his sword and with one, knocked down a small monster with a blow. The girl was unhappy. In addition, if the guy is already decided to be a hero, then let him at least attack his opponents with the blade, not with the blunt side of the sword. Due to his actions, the enemy came out of the moment. The crowd. Gavrika threw herself at the incoming protagonist. He started yelling at the girl to help him out, but she was not interesting, especially after he changed his mind. By a set. At this rate, the protagonist could have died if, in a few seconds, the huge knight would not have stood up with knees. The formidable knight took out his staff and told the guy not to worry, because he is now to him. And then, something unexpected happened. It turned out that this formidable giant support, and he began to heal the main character. Neither the boy, nor the girl, nor the monster could ever expect that the knight will be a healer. The main character did not understand what was happening, but he quickly started to feel better. So he had no choice but to continue the fight with small monsters. All this, from the shadows, was watched by his secretary. Somehow. Thus, she noticed that her boss was in danger. But she could not openly help him, so she decided. Use the bow from behind the tree. She used a skill that automatically chooses the most dangerous opponent. When she fired, why did you shoot the arrow over Gavruk and flew off somewhere into the bushes? The arrow pierced through the forest more often and flew away somewhere, so fast that no one even noticed. Then the guy discovered something strange. For some reason small, the monsters stopped attacking him. They were hooked with fear and began to crawl away from the bushes, who were hit by an arrow. But the girl immediately understood everything. She told the guys that the monsters were afraid of the king of the forest. And the king of the forest is the same mob whose main character should have been hunted down and destroyed. In a moment, a huge one came out of the thicket of the forest. Angry, horned bear. The guy and the support were at a loss, and did not know what they do. And the bear just knew it, and I thought for a long time attacked on the main characters. The horned bear did not touch anyone, and slept peacefully on a log. Woke up, he wanted to eat some honey from his stalks. And the moment he reached his paw towards his mouth, a loaded arrow flew into his head. And it was because of this that he got angry. The guy asks a logical question, what to do about it? Monster. It looks quite aggressive. The girl said that they need to defeat the monster and get experience. That's exactly why they were looking for it. The bear missed with his attack, and the heroes managed dodge. The horned bear is the king of the forest. He is an incredibly dangerous opponent. One hit and the main character is screwed. In the game, this is the first serious opponent of newcomers, since he stronger than normal mobs, and players call him a thug. Noobs. The girl watched all this from the side. She thought that showing the guy the difficulty of the game will be useful, because then he will want to donate to her. According to her plan, the main character will not be able to defeat Bear and will die in battle with him over and over again. And then the girl will enter the fight and destroy the enemy. In a moment, explaining this by the power of the donation. But there was one problem with her whole plan. This is the director's secretary. Most likely she won't allow it. Man to spend too much money. But the girl notices the strangeness in all this. Secretary just watches the actions from the side without trying help. At this time, the main character has already dealt enough blows. The enemy, and in theory, he should bleed. But the bear is not interested in this. He throws it away with one blow. The main character a few meters back. The guy doesn't die because he is under treatment. Night. And now the two of them are thinking about how to win. Enemy. A few moments later the guy asks if he can. Night is something other than healing. That's it, I thought for a while and then began to cast some kind of spell. Then, a luminous sphere appeared in his hands. Designed to illuminate dark caves. The guy asked rhetorically why do so much. A useless skill, but at that moment he was interrupted by a bear grabbing his leg. And a moment later, the guy was already being torn apart from the sides. Sighed. The bear beat the guy up a bit and threw him out again. He survived, but the girl started shouting to the guys that it was because of you. It's useless and now they need to get out of here. The guy said he doesn't know the meaning of the word surrender. He also noticed something. According to him, while the guy was being beaten, he noticed the bear's weak point. The girl was very surprised. She did not understand how the hero so quickly found the enemy's weakness. She explained that many people think that the weak point of a bear is his horns, but this is not his Achilles heel. Is right between them. But, unfortunately, the guy wasn't thinking about that. He said that this bear should be just like in real life. He once watched a movie in which the characters were scary. Bear with light, which means this bear should not tolerate bright flashes. The elf even noticed that this was complete nonsense. But the main character was already on edge. He told his partner that he will give a signal, but he must somehow way to distract. The main character took a fighting stance in front of the clubbed foot, and began to provoke him to strike. It worked, and a second later the bear pounced on the main character trying to hit him with his paw. At that moment the knight stopped the blow from above with his staff. The director swung his sword and tried to strike directly between the horns. At that second, he gave a signal and the support cast divine light. This charged the blade with energy and the guy struck straight at the bear's weak point. It worked. The club foot screamed with incredible power. After which, his lifeless body crashed right in front of the main characters. Elphika explained that it was necessary to immediately hit the place, and this light was useless. Then she explained that the guy should finish off the monster and get experience, because he still hasn't died. The main character asked the bear for forgiveness but said that it was not he who attacked him first. But then the bear looked at the main character with pitiful the eyes and heart of the old man, could not stand it. The elf was at a loss. She asked why the hero just stands there and does nothing. And then she just screamed when she saw the guy turns around and walks away from the monster. Then she asked the hero if all these efforts were really down the drain and he'll just leave the monster like that. He explained that he had his own reasons. Just now, bear reminded him of his puppy, whom he recently adopted. While they were both arguing, the support was left alone with Grozny beast. Not even a couple of seconds passed before he also fried over monster and began to heal him with his magic. After healing, he stood up and muttered something in bearish and just walked away. At the same time, it dawned on the main character that the elf will leave him alone until he destroys the beast. But as soon as he turned around, there was no bear. He was in the clearing. I didn't see it anymore. The guy was simply at a loss how the knights didn't see this. How did such a huge carcass escape? But, whatever happened, he had no choice but come to terms with the loss. Then, an icon about that, raising morale, also wants to join their team. Neither he nor the girl were against what she said. Hiller never hurts the team. Then the main character began introducing himself as a commander. Groups heard this. The girl began to argue with him again, because besides his advanced age, the man has no experience. No. A skirmish broke out near the Statue of Death. The elf reproached their medic for pumping up a strength indicator that is useless for healer. While the main character dealt with their subsequent actions, the girl still did not let up. After a while she responded to the guy and said that they go to the temple to pump up their combat stats. Spirit. She asked if he wanted to go with them, but the main character I decided to stay here and wait for them. The guy was fascinated by exploring the possibilities of this world. When suddenly someone turned to him from the side. Some girl was a demon and asked if he, the CEO of the company, named Kim Jungshik. The guy quickly began to wriggle out, and says that she confused him with someone, but the girl replied that he even speaks like a director. The girl said that she was once a fan of his, and even I read a book by him called Children in Our Days. The girl continued to pester more and more, telling the guy how cool he was during demonstrations. The guy was at a loss. He didn't know what to do. In such a situation, she is literally sure that it is him. The guy immediately remembered the words of his secretary and realized that raising the level will be difficult so as not to cases. However, now, he did not see the girl as any threat. That's why he decided he didn't understand what could go wrong if he tells the truth to just one person. Fortunately for him, at the moment of his confession, she interrupted him. The elf said that this couldn't happen. She started to justify her words by saying that Kim is Jong-sik, rich guy, and he would spend millions in this game. And this man doesn't even want to take a beginner's set at a very high price. Favorable price. The demon replied that the director promised at the presentation raise top one without using donations. But the elf replied that then he was just talking nonsense in front of ordinary people. She called the director a boomer and said that this old man would never keep his promises honestly. After listening to the elf, the demon agreed with her words. It was as if my eyes had opened. But the guy was very angry when he heard all this addressed to him. In addition, with her words she could offend the main hero, calling him an old accountant. The guy said that it was, but then asked why she is looking for a general director. She replied that she was just a journalist. She wanted meet him and interview him. At this moment the main character thought that he would have big problems if he confessed, and then, girl began to lead him away from the demon. The elf realized in her head that it was very dense reception. She could introduce herself as anyone, just to this man confessed to Kim as Jong-sik. The guy got a little upset, and his eyes opened slightly on how ordinary people think about him. At the same time, the demon was summing up the results. I looked around and said that it was very difficult to find a director. Suddenly, someone called her from behind. It turned out to be Mr. Drake, and the girl immediately told that she was looking for Kim Jong-sik. Assassin asked if it was successful, but the girl said that broke it again, and she already asked every boomer on server. This is starting to piss off the track. He doesn't understand how the guild wants them to find this director. They don't. Detectives. Then he asked what the girl would do if she really suits Kim Jong-sik. Yes, answered that first she would have to destroy him, and then they will already be thinking. The main character's assistant watched all this. She explained that all these punks are in incredible strong red demon guild, but she doesn't understand. Why do they need a CEO? A moment later, the girl was discovered by guards and had to get out of there. The main character asks how it all happened and how they were able to whether they reset their morale stats. The girl replied that they were waiting for failure. It turns out that the night I already went to the temple once. There is no way out, and the girl just said to get support from this moment he stopped pumping strength and started pumping intelligence. The director tried to cheer up the guy. He said no. There's nothing wrong with him just finding his way. But the girl did not share his optimism. She said that a support with strength is just a bad character. Then, she said that there is one way. During the starting event, a stat reset potion was distributed, but now it is not freely available. It turned out that one of the guilds created a place under called the black market. Even those goods are transported there, which have already been discontinued, and the main characters can look there, even though it is unsafe. The main character heard this story and told them to went to the black market. The girl screamed that the guy was an idiot. He didn't even knows where and what this place is. But the director was again adamant. He said that the problem is their new friend, and they have no choice. After some time they were already on the black market, in fifth row. Even though the girl had a bad feeling. They were walking along one of the walks when suddenly the cat jumped out and began to lure them into his shop. At that moment, the girl remembered that the guild owned this market, has a cat-like appearance. She then whispered into the cat's ear what item they were looking for. And after a few seconds the cat said to follow him. The girl and the fighting spirit went for walks, he told the chief. To the hero so that he waits for them in place, and does not get lost. As soon as the guy was left alone, immediately on his shoulder, the cat jumped up and asked if he was looking for anything. The cat introduced himself as a guide, and said that he would help find. The guy has everything he needs here. At the moment, the main character is not interested in anything, and so the cat invited him to join the guild, and relax with them. The man did not find this suspicious, he said that nothing should happen if he just waits. Partners in that place. Hearing this, the cat grabbed his hand, and they went to resting place. Kochik took the main character to a certain kitty tavern. When he was inside, he was immediately surrounded by cats, and one of them offered him to drink grape juice. The guy said that when he saw this place from the outside it seemed creepy to him, but inside it's a real cafe. Without thinking twice, he took a sip of liquid, and was almost vomited. The cat was surprised. He said that by mistake the grape juice was mixed with some kind of potion. After this, another cat reported that this was indeed a mistake, but the potion that the main character drank is very expensive, and you'll have to pay. The cats said that since it was their mistake they would do it. 70% discount on the cost of the potion. The main character, guided by his kindness, also admitted his guilt, because he drank without thinking. Then the score was announced to him. It turned out that now he had only 30,000 gold coins. The guy was very surprised. He wasn't sure how it worked. Economy on the server, but I was sure that this amount he doesn't have. I heard that the main character did not have a suitable one. The cat said that this is not a problem. Since he can't pay with money, Kim Chong-sik will have to pay with your body. A few moments later, the main character was already tied to a chair. The cat said that the main character has no money, in principle not excluded since he is a beginner, but he somehow needs pay for the potion you drink. Then the cat mockingly asked why the main character didn't answers. After which he explained that the main character is so. He was so upset that he even had to tape his mouth shut. Then the one-eyed cat ordered the tape to be removed from his mouth. Main character. As soon as this happened, the guy also screamed at the top of his lungs and started calling the cats scammers and others unflattering words. The cat stood his ground. He continued to say that the hero himself decided to drink the potion. The guy also didn't back down. He went on to say that it was robbery in broad daylight, and they are scammers. Then the cat replied that he doesn't know how old the main character is. Years old, but he should keep his jaws open, because they are also over. I have a couple of years of experience under my belt. The cat removed the knife from the main character's throat, and said that they were ready. Forgive all the guy's debts if he fulfills a small request. The guy started saying that he would never carry out the cat's task, because they set him up. Hearing this, the main cat ordered to bring it to his. The subordinate has another lever of pressure. The cat brought the phone and began to show it to the main character. Some kind of recording. The video recorded the actions of the main character. Never did. Code explained that in their time, making a deep fake is not so difficult. After which the cat said, if their VIP customers see this record, then the main character will have problems on this server until the end of his days. The guy started shouting his moral tales again, but for some reason he stopped for a moment. If they really want to bully him, then they can understand that he is Kim Chong-sik, and this is a real problem. The cat said that it starts to bother him. If he continue to insist on your own, you will end up on the black list. Guilds. The main character interrupted the cat. He said that he was ready. Fulfill all requirements. Then he asked what their request was. At the same time, along one of the alleys of the market they were walking remaining members of Kim Chong-sik's team. The girl was shocked by how expensive the potion was, considering that a year ago it was much cheaper. But she also told the fighting spirit that there was no problem with. No. Let him continue playing. Then the girl looked back, she couldn't figure out where. Fiery. Suddenly, the girl noticed two cats were discussing how their boss caught the new recruit. According to them, it is precisely because of this that new players should not climb here, and that poor fellow is probably suffering now. It was not difficult for the girl to immediately understand that the newcomer turned out to be her partner. At the same time, an agreement was signed in the tavern, and the code. I once said that this is just a small matter. Koshik said that they do not want to give beginners impossible tasks. Therefore, the guy has to do something very simple, just catch the red dragon alive. The main character noticed that the phrase red dragon just sounds very complicated. But the cat began to tell me that the word dragon is only in the title. Then they began to rush the main character. He asked, explain at least something, because he doesn't even know why. Begin. The cat said that he would give his hero to the main character, which will enlighten him. And now the guy needs to go through the portal, and he immediately will be in the right place. He doesn't even know where approximately this place is, and according to him, no one in their right mind would be suspicious. Portal. Koshik understood this, so he helped the main character faster, decided, and pushed him inside. After which he sent a cat named Nani into the portal for helping an unlucky traveler. When they left, one of the subordinates asked what would happen if the guy really can complete the task. He replied that cats should not even think about such a thing. Nonsense. It turns out there is a small signature in the document, in font, stating that in case of non-compliance, a person becomes a slave of the guild. As soon as they passed through the portal, the main character and the cat found ourselves in a foggy forest. The cat immediately got to the point, and told the guy stopped whining and followed him, and he would take him to the place. Where did you see the dragon? According to him, the fog is so thick that people can getting lost just a couple of meters away from each other. While they were walking, the main character once again asked for clarification. After all, he doesn't even know what this dragon looks like. But the cat didn't want to enter into dialogue. He said to the man shut his mouth, otherwise he would pull out his tongue. Then the main character again began to throw mud at the young generation and said that a cat will never succeed in office. But after a few seconds, the main character lost out of sight of his hero. He simply disappeared into the fog. The guy tried to shout to his companion, but he had nothing came of it. Then some shadow flew in front of him, barely visible in the fog, and the main character thought that the cat had found him. Well, it turned out to be not a cat, but a huge lizard. Within a second, the lizard was very alarmed by something, and he climbed onto the main character's shoulder, becoming outdated somewhere in fog. From the impenetrable grayness to burning eaves appeared. And in front of the main character with a lizard, it seemed simply monstrous, dinosaur with huge horns. Seeing this, the main character hesitated for a few seconds, not believing my eyes. And then, headlong, he began to run away from the huge reptile. Apparently it was the dragon, and the hero was finally convinced that the cats were from the tavern. Scammers. The main character ran away with all his might, without realizing why did this lizard cling to him? And then the reptile's huge mouth slammed shut, while devouring the main character and a smaller lizard. The cat threw the cards on the table, saying that he had a full house. The cats had a carefree time playing cards with each other. At some point, one of the cats said that it's strange that the nanny still hasn't returned. Heard this, the leader said that this rubbish never was part of their large family. He performed the role of a slave. At that moment, an elf came into the tavern and said that wants to ask something. I saw a visitor. The cats began to fuss and accept guests. The girl said she was wondering if there was one here. Newbie. The cat said that such a one did not pass here. The girl stood her ground and asked if the cat swears everything he has that doesn't lie now. After which, the cat changed his answer and asked why the girl wanted him looking for. She started saying that he was a member of their team, but the cat was adamant. Then the girl realized that they would achieve nothing here, and decided to leave. When the girl turned around, the cat began to offer her grape juice. The girl was not interested, and when she left, the cat said that he was alarmed by one detail. Why are you this girl? Turned out to be very familiar to him. The main character woke up from the fact that a lizard was licking his face. First of all, the guy said that he clearly remembered as if it was eaten by a dinosaur. They were trapped in a deep pit, and above them, the dinosaur was circling. Having seen all this, the main character did not understand how they needed get out of this situation. At some point, the lizard began to rummage in the ground, and initially the guy thought she was trying to dig tunnel. This turned out not to be the case. She found a dead rodent. The rodent turned out to be a mole, and the lizard laid it on the ground, as if giving it to the main character. The guy picked up the animal, and said that he often saw them in the fields when I was little. A second later, the mole opened his eyes. The guy was surprised. Let it slip out of his hands. When the animal fell, he quickly began to dig a tunnel somewhere inside. He so briskly dug out the path to salvation for himself, that the earth got into Kim Chong-chik's eyes. When he managed to wipe his eyes from the ground, it turned out that the mole has already dug a whole tunnel. He and the lizard looked inside, and the guy said that theoretically, he could even get through there. He and the lizard looked inside, and the guy said that theoretically, he could even get through there. The gecko began to explore the tunnel first, followed by the main character also climbed into the hole. At some point, the lizard stopped, and the main character I had to push her down. It turned out that they crawled to a large cave, illuminated by the sparkle of crystals. The guy, although he appreciated the beauty of the surroundings, did not forget that first of all, they need to find a way out. After these words, the gecko asked the main character to follow him, to which he agreed. At some point, the reptile began to offend too quickly, and disappeared into the darkness of the cave, ahead of the main character. And a moment later, with the same speed, she ran out. Back, clearly running away from something. It turned out to be a swarm of large, toothy bats. The guy was already starting to think that the reptile was not useless, but it turned out that she only ruins everything. While they were running, one of the geckos tried to attack the gecko bats. But the guy, at the last moment, managed to cut the monster in half with your sword. At this moment, the gecko finally accepted his savior for the owner. And a second later, he climbed onto Kim Chong-shik's shoulder, using him as a taxi. The guy ran as fast as he could, but his stamina quickly was ending, and at this rate the mice would have caught up with them. At some point, the main character remembered the slime that the elf talked about. He threw the green goo into the cloud of bats. Kick him. Disappointment, I managed to put together only a small part. The hero's plan didn't work well enough, and the end had come if the gecko had not begun to emit smoke from mouth. After which, he vomited a large amount towards the bats. Fire cloud. He managed to burn all the remaining monsters, and the hero still recognized the reptile as not completely useless. A moment later, Kim Jong-shek was already sitting and restoring strength while the gecko ate a fried mouse. At some point, the reptile looked at the main character, and I assumed that the guy was also hungry. But Kim Chong-shik had to refuse. He said that the gecko can consider it his own trophy. When he touched the reptile, it began to glow. Bluish light, which the main character could not expect. Then the smoke cleared, and it turned out that the little gecko got a little bigger. The guy didn't understand what was happening. Maybe the lizard was just, I ate something strange and that's why I changed so much. After which, apparently the reptile began to burp, and he spat out a small ball of fire somewhere into the darkness. Caves. He began to fly down a parabolic trajectory, and then something terrible happened. A fiery sphere exploded on the head of a real, huge dragon. Such a clap woke up the dormant monster, and a large. The reptile opened its eye. And the main character with the lizard didn't understand what they were doing now. A wyvern rose from the ground in front of the main character. This is part dragon-like, but usually weaker and smaller than real ones. Dragons. However, it's still a dragon, so the guy with the gecko immediately began to run away, realizing this. According to the main character, at this rate he will go crazy, constantly running away from monsters. The guy says that today someone is especially unlucky day for him. In response to this, the lizard muttered something, but the main character quickly put her down, remind her that it was she who woke up the dragon. Gecko runs near the guy trying his best. Warn him of the danger ahead. Well, the guy doesn't speak the language of lizards, and therefore doesn't notice living stones that came along the road. Naturally, Kim Chong-shik got caught on one of the stones, and acceleration crashed down. Naturally, Kim Chong-shik caught on one of the stones, and acceleration crashed down. At this moment, the guy began to realize his helplessness and how unlucky he is. As soon as this happened, it was already wrong right before a hero and was already ready to devour them. But then, between the dragon and Kim Chong-shik, a gecko became like would be closing it. The wyvern was clearly not afraid of such a small defender. So the gecko made a brilliant move. He showed, pointing his finger somewhere to the side, making a surprised face. When the huge monster turned to look at something, the gecko made his move. He attempted to attack the monster and attacked his head. The lizard was not stupid and immediately began squeezing out with its paws the eyes of a wyvern. The guy was simply in shock, but it really cheered him up. He praised the gecko and then also decided to join. He took out his sword and made a lightning lunge, striking right across the monster's stomach. Imagine his disappointment when the sword simply split in half when it hit the dragon's scales. At this time, the dragon continued to squirm in agony, which was caused by the absence of eyes. At some point, the animal began to take off, being directly above exit from the cave. When the guy noticed the missing ceiling, it was already too late. The dragon heads upward. All the main character managed to do was grab his tail. Monsters. And all three of them burst out. Then the guy fell to the ground, along with the gecko. After which the main character threw off the small lizard. As soon as he did this, he realized that the wyvern was nowhere. Flew away, and was already ready to devour them. At the moment when she had already flown to destroy the main heroes, something strange happened. The blue dragon was grabbed by the neck by a larger reptile, and began to tear with her teeth. The dinosaur pinned him to the ground. That was enough too. The dragon died. And then the red prehistoric lizard switched his attention to the main characters. The gecko climbed onto the guy's head, so he didn't even see approaching danger. But at the last moment, the dinosaur's head was stopped by a blow. Energy hammer. This applies to the main character's cat companion. As soon as he landed, he said that he warned the main character so that he does not lag behind him. Then he noticed a red reptile and asked where it came from. The main character is. The guy said that he met this brat when they missed the cat, and for some reason the lizard changes shape when he eats. The cat could never have expected this, he would never have believed it. That the main character really found the right reptile. But this is so it's time for them to return. His story was interrupted by the paw of a Tyrannosaurus, which almost. I made a chop out of a cat. But he managed to jump away, and used some kind of magic. Against the dinosaur. He attacked the reptile with a thunder sword style under. Called Thunder Wave. The guy saw this and told the cat that he was very cool, and asked. Will he ever be able to learn something like that? In response to this, the cat said that the main character should not lose time and immediately returned with the loot to the tavern. He waved his paw, and the main character, together with the gecko, began to dissolve into thin air. The guy only managed to shout that the cat would ever taught him this technique. A moment later, Kim Jong-shik materialized directly before the leader of the black market. The cat, without looking, began to say that since the main character did not catch the dragon, there was nothing wrong with that. He began to say that since the guy didn't bring the dragon, then, according to the contract, he will have to become a slave. When the cat opened his eyes wider, he was not surprised. Limit. He couldn't believe that the main character was able to catch sizzling dragon, and the guy at that time was surprised. Learning that this little reptile is a dragon, the cat immediately began to beg the main character to give him a reptile. But the guy told the mustachioed one to do his job first. Part of the deal. The cat agreed without thinking twice. He put a signet, and then the contract was burned with blue fire. As soon as this happened, the other cats immediately put the gecko in a cage. The guy once again looked into the eyes of this little lizard, with whom he managed to go through so much. While he was doing this, the cat began to threaten the guy, and told him to. He quickly got out and didn't come back here anymore. The guy has no choice but to turn around and see. Finally, like a cage, they wrap it in a black cape. When he left the building, he said to himself that there was a deal and there was nothing he could do. An elf named Kiddo was gnawing on her mittens from tension. If the main character understood everything and therefore through them, she's in deep trouble. Her nervous tick was interrupted by a voice from the side. It turned out to be Kim Jong-shik. The girl was simply furious at how much was important. The hero was not there and began to ask where he was hanging around. She asked the guy if he really had a post office for beauty, but the main character didn't even know what was in this game. Mail. The girl first called the main character the worst, but then she cooled down and told him not to go anywhere on one's own. He said that he was no longer little and turned to the girl. With your back. Imagine her surprise when she saw him on t-shirt, clinging gecko. After this, the girl asked again what the main character he studied there. He replied that it was a long story. The girl said that she had once seen something similar, but I forgot what it was called, and the guy replied that he didn't take it with myself. Then the girl explained that it was possible that the guy tamed this animal, and now it automatically follows behind him. Then the guy said that from now on he would really be his pet. At the same time, on the black market, exchange began in full swing. Goods. The leader of the cats was informed that they had found buyer. After some time he was already standing on the deal with a wrapped black checkered fabric. He told the men that it was hard to believe, but the beast really caught a real nude. Then they decided to check how the reptile was doing, but obviously, there was nothing inside. As soon as the cat saw this, he immediately ordered his subordinates find the main character. At the same moment, a cat named Nanny materialized in front of some person. The man asked the cat how long he was going to continue. He replied that he was just gaining time, but some man has already been able to tame the distributing dragon. Then the man said that he had already spent too much efforts to catch him. He even had to release drag the same dinosaur. Then this man took off his mask and said that he didn't know who it was he who took away his sizzling dragon. But when he finds him, he will not let him go alive. Kim Jong-sik told his version of what was happening. Incidentally, squeezing a gecko. Then the girl said that there were rumors in the area that black market guild to lure people by dishonest means into their ranks. Hearing this, the brilliant protagonist played the role and said that he will not tolerate this, he will try to stop them, and will report to everyone. The girl asked in surprise what it meant to stop there. Then the guy began to explain that he would just cheat on the guild, report and hope that they will be banned. Then the guy realized that you don't need to watch your tongue. Otherwise, if something like this gets thrown out, they can instantly declassify. At this moment the girl felt pity for the main character. She thinks that a guy should be successful in life, and they just got scammed here. Then she abruptly stopped her thoughts, and in a moment she stopped. Understand what she is thinking about now. She must make the old man donate, and then take away all his clothes. Then the guy turned to Miss Kiddo. He said that it was not urgent, but he will be glad if the girl helps him. He told the elf that he had broken his sword during his escape. And she couldn't believe her ears. This is an ideal chance for her to beg from the main character money. A moment later they were already walking along a busy street. The guy asked where they were going, because the shops were in another country, but the girl asked him to just follow her. One person from the crowd complained about the chance of a drop, and said, for novice to change loot boxes. And then the girl announced that they had come to the right place. The guy was shocked to see the number of people. She told the guy to look in the direction where she shows and then he will understand everything. There turned out to be a machine gun, a random drop chance items. The guy asked how this was related to the search weapons, because it looks more like a casino. The girl explained that the items that can be obtained from store just gray. And here things of green rarity drop out. Or even a purple weapon whose drop rate only 1%. The guy still couldn't understand what the girl was getting at. And she still chewed it out, saying that if the main character knocks out something like that, then he will be able to raise levels 4. In a matter of minutes, Kim Chong-sik immediately began to have his head in the clouds, imagining yourself omnipotent. And only then, he asked the girl what he needed to do for this. The guy asked if it was free, to which the girl, she replied that the price was very inexpensive, only $5. We barely managed to stop the main character, and she asked for him to listen to the end. The guy replied that there is nothing to listen to here, the money is for the game. They are not going to spend it. To this the girl replied that no one is forcing him spend money. After some time, the elf led the main character to very similar machine. According to her, although it is an old model, sometimes something useful still falls. The guy was skeptical about this. He asked again, is money needed here? Kiddo replied that it's usually necessary, but there's an event going on right now. And they made a lot of concessions for beginners, including one free spin of the machine. The guys were shocked when they found out that they had won each free try. Kim Chong-sik was very interested in this proposal, and he said that he didn't even know about such a system. When the girl noticed this, she was incredibly happy. Finally her victim took the bait. After all, these machines are designed in such a way that after the first free time, you'll definitely want more. Then the girl screamed for them all to spin once, and said to let the fighting spirit begin. Although he is not the one doing the spins, the main character said that for some reason, he is very worried while their support is spinning the roulette. It turned out that the healer had received a fragment of a weapon, which you need as many as 100 pieces to create one cannon. The morale was extremely depressed by this news, and the main character tried to calm him down, while the girl used my attempt. When she pressed the button on the card, she mentally understood that she shouldn't expect anything useful. But then something strange happened inside her, out of nowhere. Take it, her excitement awoke. The idea that she might knock out something useful, or even the legendary, did not leave her head, and she herself fell on the hook. After which something fell out of the machine gun. It turned out to be cursed dagger. Although this blade was better than her current one, it was still. She was damn disappointed. After which the main character also made a spin, and something strange happened. The guy knocked out some kind of coupon for an S-Runk weapon, and I got scared when it became very noisy around. The elf was simply in shock. She did not understand how the guy. I could have been so lucky. It actually turned out to be an unidentified weapon card. So also S rank, she couldn't believe that the guy knocked it out on the first try. Grandfather lit up very much, and said that she needed to go somewhere. Go, and the main character should not go anywhere at this time. The girl ran and couldn't stop smiling. Chances. The drop of this item is less than 1% and now it's not even necessary. Force him to donate. All she has left to do is take away the given item. Using a scroll and somehow get rid of it. Old man. The guy said he didn't know what happened to him, but based on his reaction, kiddo and those around him, this is clearly something cool. He wanted to understand what kind of thing was in his hands, and asked what it was. Fighting spirit, but he had no idea. At this moment, some kind of person approached the heroes from behind. An unknown person. He did not introduce himself. Well, the man said that he knows this subject very well and can help the main character with this. The guy was very glad that someone would finally explain to him. What's the matter? But then the man in the robe said that he couldn't see from afar. And he asked the guy to give him this thing in his hand.